Washington, D.C., capital of the free world. 650,000 people live, work, and commute in and around this city. Planes, trains, and cars crisscross the city, releasing harmful chemicals into the air and increasing the health risks of citizens. Due to the civic importance of the city, it is plagued by constant congestion and traffic. However, air quality has improved tremendously, thanks to the EPA regulation. But there is still a long way to go until the air in the nation's capital is completely clean.
Bad air quality affects a person's health in many non-dramatic ways, which I think is one of the problems with the issue of air pollution, because there's not a single dramatic thing. It's not like you break out in purple warts if you breathe bad air. But in general, your health declines. So your respiratory function declines, your heart performance declines, you're much more likely to experience bouts of asthma. So it's not so much that it's particularly causes a pernicious disease, but that it decreases overall levels of health.
Just for all of us, a certain level of air pollution can actually reduce the function of the lungs to up to about 20%.
The Clean Air Act of 1963 was the first federal legislation that pertains to controlling air pollution. But it was not until a 1970 amendment and the creation of the EPA that there began to be federal regulation of air quality standards. The EPA sets national ambient air quality standards for pollutants considered harmful to public health and the environment. They set both primary standards, which correspond to levels healthy for sensitive populations, such as asthmatics and the elderly, and secondary standards, which correspond to levels healthy enough for public welfare protection.
The general way that the Clean Air Act works is that there's a list of these major pollutants, ozone, particulate matter, sulfur dioxide, and several more. And the Environmental Protection Agency, which is a federal agency, sets a standard for each of those, which is based on what is the healthy level for those.
EPA has 6 what we call criteria pollutants. They're basic air pollutants for which we regulate nationally. We set an air quality standard for each of the 6 pollutants, and as the standards are currently set, most parts of the country meet all the standards, and there are a few standards which some areas struggle to achieve, and ozone is one. And that's probably the one that for DC is the most challenging.
Ozone is actually one of the most problematic of the pollutants in this area, and it's mainly from the car exhaust. Those oxygens from the NOx and the SOx kind of hit each other, combine, and there's a photochemical reaction that takes place that creates ozone at the ground level, what we call ground level ozone. So whereas the upper level ozone is actually good to protect us, the ground level ozone is harmful to us.
EPA has established standards for 6 of these criteria pollutants, and for a host of what we call air toxic pollutants, air toxics or hazardous air pollutants. The number one public health killer is fine particulate matter.
Particulate matter is a mixture of solid particles and liquid droplets found in the air. It is formed in the atmosphere as a result of chemical reactions between pollutants such as sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide, which are emitted from cars, industries, and power plants. Some particles are big enough to be seen with the naked eye, but others are so small that they can only be seen with an electron microscope.
In the 1980s, EPA led analysis based on emerging science, which revealed that the particulates that were of most concern from a health standpoint were very fine particulates, particles that were much smaller than we had been focusing on.
Fine particulate matter is a big problem because the whole story with fine particulate matter is that the particles are fine, they're small. and they get breathed in through your lungs, which is a tissue that is designed to bring materials from the outside world into your body.
There's something that you're breathing in so small that it crosses the boundary between the actual lung and the circulatory system and can form blockage, different type of blockages.
Because of our environmental laws, the Clean Air Act in particular, and because of the work of all of these agencies and all of the other supporting organizations, emissions of our basic air pollutions have gone down really significantly. Lead concentrations in the air have been reduced by over 99%. Emissions and air pollution concentrations of other pollutants have also been reduced dramatically. Sulfur dioxide emissions have been reduced probably over 80%, and emissions of nitrogen oxides by probably over 60%, and emissions of pollutants that lead to ozone have been reduced by probably 30 to 50%.
I think those trends are driven not by a single monumental landmark legislation, no single change that DC adopted, but rather just kind of chipping away at the problem year by year and bringing more awareness to this issue and more consciousness to the issue.
I will not say that we're done getting the air cleaner, but I would certainly say we've made significant progress.